Satan enticed men to do his bidding. His goal was to cloud men's minds so that they would no longer recognize the truth.
Koran 8, verse 8, that he might justify truth and prove falsehood false, distasteful though it be to the disbelievers who oppose.
The writing quality is dreadful, so let me translate this for you. The verse says, the people whose consciences had not yet been eroded opposed terror. That made them guilty. From Satan's perspective, truth could only be justified by killing men with a conscience, men with the ability to discern right from wrong. You are witnessing spiritual warfare of the highest order, and the stakes in this game are men's souls. Muhammad made a deal with the devil.
Koran 8, verse 9. Remember, you implored the assistance of your Lord, and he heard what you requested. I will assist you with 1,000 angels, ranks on ranks.
If ever a verse proved that the Koran was as false as its deity, this is it. It is beyond comprehension that the Creator of the universe would send his angels to help a pirate. Moreover, can you imagine angels so impotent it takes 1,000 of them to kill 50 merchants? There is more to this demonic assistance than I have shared thus far. According to the Hadith and Quran, Allah used rain and wind to foil the merchants. Rain was said to have secured the gravel under the militants and undermined the sandy slopes beneath the merchants' feet, and a wind from behind the militants' backs blew coarse sand in the merchants' faces, impairing their vision. The Bible calls Satan the prince and power of the air. He was given control over weather. In the book of Job, Satan uses wind and a thunderstorm to try and lure a man of God away from the truth. He also incites men to kill and steal on his behalf. That is precisely what happened at Badr, and for the same reasons. Is it a coincidence or not? The Hadith and Quran reveal something more sinister than just a bad man who craved power, sex, and money. To understand what was at stake, we need to expose the spirit that inspired Islam, and to accomplish this, we must turn to the same place Muhammad turned for enlightenment, the Hebrew Bible. By lifting the majority of the Quran from its pages, he left the honest searcher with no option but to compare where they agree and conflict. And what we find is that the spirit of Islam is identical to the fallen angel, Halal bin Shakar, or Satan. Allah's nature, character, motivations, means, and limitations are a carbon copy of the devil's. He deceives men and leads them astray. He enjoys torment, killing, and death. He entices lost souls. And for the purpose of this book, it matters not if you view the Bible as inspired or Satan as real. If you do, you will see Allah more clearly and understand the significance of the problem currently facing the world. If not, it's sufficient that you see Muhammad's words and behaviors as deceitful, as demented. Either way, the greatest service we can render Muslims is to free them from Islam. In so doing, we will free ourselves from the terror this man, his spirit, and doctrine inspire. Reading on, we discover that Muhammad was no better at piracy than he was at prophecy.
Quran 8, verse 10. Allah made the victory,
Killing, kidnapping, and stealing,
but a message of hope, a glad tiding to reassure you. Victory
of this kind
comes only from Allah.
Actually, Satan.
Lo, Allah is almighty. Remember, he has covered you with slumber. As a security from him, he sent down rain to clean you of the plague of evil suggestions of Satan, that you might plant your feet firmly.
Satan's plague was being cast out of heaven for disobedience. His curse is to bring mankind down to his level. A hadith says,
Ishak, Allah sent down water from the sky at night, and it prevented the polytheists from getting to the well before us.
This tradition is followed by a hellish one, suggesting the source of the inclement nocturnal weather.
Ishak, I will cast terror into the hearts of those who reject me. So strike off their heads and cut off their fingers. All who oppose me and my prophet shall be punished severely.
Then from the Koran.
Koran 8, verse 12. Your Lord inspired the angels,
actually fellow demons,
with the message, I am with you. Go and give firmness to the believers. I will terrorize the unbelievers. Therefore smite them on their necks and every joint, and incapacitate them. Strike off their heads and cut off each of their fingers and toes.
Allah is calling himself a terrorist. He is ordering his fellow demons to decapitate and mutilate men so that their fathers, sons, and brothers might rob them. Islam has sunk to a new low. Ah, but it was justified according to the spirit of Islam.
Quran 8, verse 13. This because they rejected Allah.
The Meccans invented Allah. They never rejected him. So this was all about.
And defied his messenger. If anyone opposes Allah and his messenger, Allah shall be severe in punishment. This is the torment, so taste the punishment. For those infidels who resist, there is the torment of hell.
While Allah's command to fight is new, as is his bribe of booty, his character hasn't changed. He's the same old demented fellow we grew to despise in Mecca. Surrender and obey, or you will die.
Quran 8, verse 15. Believers,
these would be Muslims,
when you meet unbelieving infidels in battle while you are marching for war, never turn your backs on them. If any turns his back on such a day, unless it be in a stratagem of war, a maneuver to rally his side, he draws on himself the wrath of Allah, and his abode is hell, an evil refuge.
This is like the pseudo-religious Teutonic Oath of the Nazi SS. It's identical to the mindset of the kamikaze divined wind. Not only are Muslims ordered to attack, they are condemned if they retreat. Islam is a fight to the death. And lest we forget, Allah hates peaceful Muslims. If you know one, you ought to share this verse with them. They could do better than follow a God who hates them for doing the right thing. The following verse is one of many that is meaningless outside of the context the hadith provides. As you recall, Muslims claim that Allah's angels severed men's heads before their swords reached them. And we learn,
Ishak, Allah said concerning the pebbles thrown by the apostle, I threw them not at you. Your tossing them would have had no effect without my help. But working together we terrorized the enemy and put them to flight.
In that context, I present the Quran.
Quran 8, verse 17. It is not you,
Muhammad and Muslims,
who slew them. It was Allah who killed them. It was not you, Muhammad, who threw a handful of dust. It was not your act, but it was Allah who threw the sand in the eyes of the enemy at Badr, in order that he might test the
Muslim
believers by doing them a gracious favor of his own. For Allah is he who hears and knows.
By adding words inside parentheses, the Islamic scholars who translated the Quran have admitted two things. The Quran is senseless without the surah, and the surah is scripture. Furthermore, the passage is worse in context, not better. Allah is confessing to a crime. The men that he claimed he killed were neither warriors nor criminals. They were businessmen trying to keep Muslims from stealing their wares. By any sane definition, when he pursued and killed these men, he committed an act of first-degree murder, a capital offense. In all civilized societies, murderers are either put to death or separated for life. Shouldn't Allah receive the same sentence? And is often the case, the murdering spirit is insane. He said that his rage was a gracious favor. Why would Allah confess to such heinous crimes, and why did he elect to gloat about his outing with the pirates? The reasons are threefold. First, Satan had done all he could. He had manipulated the weather and induced men to behave badly. He was proud of himself, the very feeling that got him into trouble in the first place. Second, Muhammad was a coward in battle. He hunkered down in his palm frond hut, a safe distance behind the battle lines. He needed to revise history so that his militants would believe that by tossing pebbles he was actually fighting with God. Third, Muhammad took 20% of the spoils, 100 times larger share than any of the combatants. If Allah was the most vicious and prolific killer, rather than the pirates, he deserved the largest share.